In this week's episode of the Red and Gold Report, we're going to be examining the biggest offseason problem that the Chiefs are going to be facing. But first, let's update you on all the recent Chiefs news. With the Chiefs still reeling from that loss in the AFC Championship to the Bengals, they're entering a pivotal offseason of change. As coaches and personnel team members change early in the NFL offseason, it always feels to me a lot like a disorganized speed dating session. And this one's been no different. Chiefs quarterback coach Mike Kafka is being hired as the offensive coordinator for the New York Football Giants. Kafka has been the quarterback's coach for the Red and Gold since 2018 and was actually drafted as a quarterback by Andy Reid in 2010 in Philadelphia. Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy is still in the running to become the next head coach for the New Orleans Saints. He certainly deserves it, but with the Saints being about $70 million over the cap, whoever takes over, well, it looks like you're going to be set up to fail in the bayou. Chiefs executive director of player personnel, Ryan Poles, has been hired as the general manager in Chicago. Poles has been with the Chiefs for 13 seasons in the personnel department, and due to the NFL system of encouraging teams to develop minority head coaches and general managers as candidates, the Chiefs will be getting an extra third-round pick in this 2022 draft and another extra third-round pick in 2023. Also, with Chiefs linebacker coach Matt House heading to LSU, defensive line coach Brandon Daly is moving to linebackers, and the Chiefs have hired former Jaguars defensive coordinator Joe Cullen to man the defensive line. Now, this all feels like a game of musical chairs to me, except it's grown men making millions of dollars trying to make sure they find a seat before everyone else sits down. But it's not just coaches and personnel guys in the news. We're beginning to hear rumors about players who may or may not be moving on this offseason. Chiefs general manager Brett Veach says he expects impending free agent left tackle Orlando Brown to be back with the team. No surprise there. He also says that he wants to keep a conversation going, a dialogue going with defensive end Melvin Ingram, which sounds to me like something you would tell a girlfriend when you know that you're going to break up. There also seems to be an interest on both the team and the player's side when it comes to impending free agent safety Tyrann Mathieu, but there's going to be some issues making that happen under the cap. And on a similar front, defensive tackle Jarran Reed is so sure he's not going to be re-signed by the Chiefs that he's already said farewell to the team on Twitter, because you know what? You can't break up with me if I break up with you first. And general manager Brett Veach also recently stated that defensive line and corner were going to be areas of emphasis this offseason, to which every quarterback in the NFL replied, "Oh, we were hoping you would just never figure that one out." And hey, real quick, with so many free agents and the team so close to another Super Bowl, this really is a pivotal offseason for the Chiefs. Change is coming, and if you want to get the best weekly Chiefs news brought to you by a guy who spent a decade in the Chiefs war room on draft day, then you got to hit subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell on YouTube and like the Red and Gold Report on Facebook. Also, in the comment section below, please let me know any of the questions you have about this offseason for our Chiefs, and I'll try to address them in future videos. So, with this week's news in the books, what's going to be the biggest problem of the offseason for the Chiefs? 2 words: salary cap. I think most Chiefs fans would be surprised to know that it appears the Chiefs have about $30 million in cap space at the start of the 2022 offseason. But in reality, the cap situation is as overextended as a sorority girl's credit card statement. So, let me help us understand the cap problem right here at the beginning of the offseason. First, the first reason the team's cap is an issue is a top-heavy roster. Just 7 players for the team are scheduled to make 73% of the salary cap for next year. Top-heavy cap teams are becoming more of a norm in the NFL, but the Chiefs are definitely leading the way. The second reason the cap is a problem is how far the team is from fielding a full roster. There are currently only 39 players under contract for the Chiefs. For reference, the Broncos and Raiders have 50. The Chiefs have 8 draft picks right now, which overthecap.com estimates is going to cost the team $9.3 million to sign. But even if they bring in then the required 4 more contracts at the league minimum of $705,000, at base minimum, it's going to take $12.1 million just to get enough bodies in the room to fill the roster. Third reason the cap is going to be a problem is the free agents the team needs to re-sign. Now, the priority has to be re-signing left tackle Orlando Brown. I mean, there is no way that the Chiefs traded away a first-round pick last year to just let Brown walk. The problem is that SpotTrack estimates a $23.3 million a year contract for Brown, and there's just no way the Chiefs can pay him that. In all likelihood, Brown's going to get the dreaded franchise tag, which is about $16.5 $6.5 million for offensive linemen this offseason. So after just filling out the roster and just tagging Orlando Brown, that'll leave the team with just $2 million to sign all of their other free agents like Tyrann Mathieu, Melvin Ingram, Jerron Reed, Charvarius Ward, Byron Pringle, Mike Hughes, Darrell Williams, Chad Henne, Blake Bell, Austin Blythe, Mike Burton, Derek Nottie, and more. There's actually 23 unrestricted free agents in all, plus 5 more restricted free agents. And now you're getting the picture of why this is going to be such a difficult cap situation for the Chiefs. Fourth reason the cap is difficult is the issue of restructuring contracts. Every year lately, national sports news radio says that the Chiefs are somehow magical at handling the cap. Yeah, they're not any more magical than my kids' stuffed unicorn animals. I mean, what they've actually done is they've restructured contracts to kick more money down the road. But that all might hit a wall. Mahomes has a $35.8 million cap hit, Chris Jones with a $29.4 hit, Frank Clark, Anthony Hitchens, and Travis Kelce. All of those players have already restructured their contracts. Why, if you were them, would you continue to take less money? And to add to that, why would Joe Thuney, who was a free agent last year, paid $4.5 million, why would he decrease his $17.8 million cap number this year? In past years, the team, to address the cap issue, restructured contracts. And you know what? They could do that again this year and keep kicking the can down the road, making it harder and harder in the future years. But that's just not going to be as possible this year because most of these contracts have already been restructured. The fifth reason the cap is going to be hard is 2 possible big money extensions. When it comes to Travis Kelce, he is only scheduled to make $8.9 million this year after making just $7.6 million last year. Yeah, I wish I could say that I only made $7.6 million, but with, other tight ends in the league, they're making double that as top tight ends. So if I was his agent, there's no way I don't go to the Chiefs and go, hey, we got to get an extension going and bump Travis's numbers up. And then Tyreek Hill and his $20.7 million cap number is going to be in the last year of his contract. And there's absolutely a chance that he will also come to the team and say, hey, I need a massive extension. I want to get my numbers bumped up too. The sixth reason the cap is difficult is backloaded contracts. So last year, Mahomes made $7.4 million. But that number is going to jump to nearly $36 million this year. Chris Jones made $8.5 million last year, but that jumps to $29.4 this year. Tyreek Hill jumps from $15.9 to $20.1, and Joe Thuney jumps from $4.5 to $17.8. I mean, those numbers helped the Chiefs last year, but wow, that's really going to hurt this offseason. All right, so at this point, you're probably wondering, what in the world are the Chiefs going to do about this cap situation? And while there's really only 2 options to fix the problem, and there's really only one good option. Cut Frank Clark and Anthony Hitchens. Frank Clark has a cap hit of $26.3 million this season, 3rd for defensive ends, but he was 80th in sacks last year and 89th in PFF grade for defensive ends. That's an easy cut. The problem is the team already restructured his contract. So even if he's not playing for the team, you have to pay him both the signing and restructured bonuses, meaning if he's cut, he's still going to cost the team $6.8 million in 2022 and $6.8 million in 2023 dead money, though this assumes that he would be cut post June 1st. The other cut that needs to happen is Anthony Hitchens, the linebacker, whose cap hit will be $12.7 million, the 11th biggest off-ball linebacker cap hit in 2022 in the league, even though he is consistently graded as one of the worst linebackers in the entire NFL. Hitchens is in his last year of his deal, but if he's cut, he still counts for $4.2 million in cap hit because, again, the Chiefs already restructured his contract to kick the money down the road. So yes, cutting these 2 players is going to leave behind about $11 million in dead cap space, but it does free up $28 million this year. And without that, the team is barely going to be able to field a full roster. The other way the Chiefs could address the situation is to convert the salaries of Mahomes and Jones this year into restructured bonuses in future years. But like I said, both players have already restructured and they might not want to keep waiting to get their cash. And at some point, hey, the team probably needs to stop just kicking the can down the road. So we'll see what happens. My expectation is actually they might restructure one or both of those, although that might really hurt the future. But what do you think about the Chiefs cap situation this offseason? Leave a comment below. And if you have a question about anything to do with the offseason that you'd like me to answer, leave that in the comments below too. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to the Red and Gold channel on YouTube. Thanks for watching and go Chiefs!